What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given, and how has it impacted your personal or professional lives?
What did I tell you that impressed you the most?
Actually, I can answer that. When first I met Warren, we were talking about getting together and doing something again, and he pulled out his calendar, and the pages were so blank. And I said, wow, you know, you've managed to avoid getting tied into a lot of kind of meaningless activity. And you know, Warren said, yeah, you have to be good at saying no and picking the things that really make a difference. And that's one of many things I've learned from Warren, but that's one of my favorites. And so I can blame it on him whenever I'm turning things down.
Yeah, well, I told him that was it. The truth is I don't get invited anyplace. I think that, you know, I got an awful lot of good advice from my dad, and he didn't lay it on me. I mean, he just, you know, you picked it up from him, but there was never any of this, you know, do this, do that type of thing at all. But I think he really taught me that it's more important in terms of what's on your inner scorecard than your outer scorecard. I mean, some people get in a position where they're thinking all of the time of what the world's going to think of this or that instead of what they themselves think about it. And if your inner scorecard, if you're comfortable with that, I think you're going to have a pretty happy life. And I think the people that strive too much for the outer scorecard sometimes find that it's a little hollow when they get all through.
When you need advice and feedback about an idea or decision, I'd like to know, who do you go to?
Well, usually I look in the mirror. I mean, to be perfectly honest. The nature of what I do means I have to think pretty much independently. Because if I take a poll, in effect, I'm going to do what everybody else is doing, and I don't think much of that usually in investments. And so I have to have an environment, and I have to have a temperament personally that lets me think for myself. And I've got a terrific partner, a fellow named Charlie Munger. And you can't find anybody any smarter, any better quality of anything. But we think a lot alike, and we do talk things over occasionally, but we don't talk them over very often because I know how he thinks, he knows how I think. He's taught me a lot, you know, and you know, why should I pay for a phone call if I know what he's going to say? So if I need to get a cabinet around to make decisions or anything like that, I probably shouldn't be running the place. That doesn't bother me to have the responsibility for it, but I just don't want to put it up to a vote because I've seen too many, particularly in the investment world, as you get larger and larger groups making the decisions, they get more and more homogenized. And I don't think you will ever get brilliant investment decisions out of a large committee.
Yeah, for me, probably the most important decisions I make are a lot like when I pick what technologies the company's going to bet on. Those are a bit like Warren's, where you really have to be willing to be contrary, to leave some things aside and to go into some places that aren't very hot. If you get outside of that technical realm, you know, I'm super lucky. I have Steve Ballmer, who's now CEO of Microsoft, and we're in each other's offices almost every day. You know, he's more of a business type thinker, I'm more of a technology type thinker, but we a little bit have learned what the other one's going to say over the years, so we can give each other a hard time about the positions we expect. Outside of that, if I had some really tough decision, I'd talk to my dad, I'd talk to Warren, I'd talk to my wife Melinda. So I have enough people that know me and actually know where my judgment isn't its strongest, where I might get overexcited about something or, you know, forget to think about something. And so they're good at correcting, particularly Melinda, good at correcting whatever those blind spots are. And I think it's good to encourage your friends and advisors to really give them that license. You know, I can go to a party and forget to say hello to various people or something. That's a very minor example of my blind spots.
Not to the hostess.
Well, Melinda would help me do that.
Yeah, she would,
so,
yeah.
So, you know, a small number of people that you can turn to on certain key things is a great asset.
And incidentally, at Berkshire, Bill has an integrated business. We have this diverse group out there. But we have 40 managers, and I really encourage them to be doing the same thing. I mean, they run their businesses, and they know how to do it, and they're going to make some mistakes, but they basically make the calls, and they don't have to check with us. It's amazing how decentralized we are in that respect. But you know, we bet on brains, and we bet on people with energy and brains and integrity, and they're going to call most of them right, and I think we would lose an awful lot by having all kinds of layers of committees to review that they had to check with and that sort of thing.
When you were just beginning your career, what sort of things do you think made a big impact in your success? What habits did you develop, and kind of what sort of things could you pass on to us as younger people?
I had one habit that I developed when I was at college that was actually a very bad habit, which was I liked to show people that I didn't do any work and that I didn't go to classes and I didn't care. And then at the very last minute, like 2 days before the test, I'd get serious about it. And people thought that was funny. You know, that was my positioning, the guy who did nothing until the last minute. Then when I went into business, that was a really bad habit. And it took me a couple of years to get over that. Nobody praised me because I would do things at the last minute, and I tried to reverse to students I'd actually I didn't think that highly of, who were always organized and had things done on time. I'm still working on it, but procrastination is not a good habit.
Bill can change clothes in the car. I mean, that's why we don't insure him at Geico, incidentally. But he has a little of that habit left still. But the habits you develop, and I go back, the other thing is have the right heroes. I mean, I've always been lucky in that respect. And if the people you look up to are going to form your vision of what the world, how you want to be in later life. And I'll give you two pieces of advice. I'd invest as much in myself as you can. I mean, you're your own biggest asset by far. I mean, you've got all kinds of potential. All the people in this room, you're lucky to be in this country, gotten a good education. But most people go through life using up a very, very small part of their potential. And so anything you do that invests in yourself, that's the best investment you can possibly make. And then I would follow my passion. I mean, whatever turns you on. I was lucky. I found something early that turned me on. But you don't want to take a job just for the money. You don't want to take a job for an organization that you really don't feel good about, or work for people that you don't feel good about. You really want to be excited when you get out of bed every morning. And it won't necessarily be the job that you have 10 years later, but you'll be learning so much as you go along. And I took a job with Ben Graham, my hero, and I never asked the salary, and I found at the end of the month when I got my first paycheck what I was earning, because I just knew it was the right thing to be doing. So I would follow your passion.
About the globalization of business, being a small business owner myself, I wonder how you see that affecting the small business sector.
I don't think most small businesses, as I think of them, I don't think it's going to have that much effect on what you do. I mean, if you're bringing something to your customer that they want at a price that makes sense for them, you're not going to be undercut by whether somebody's doing something in China or India on a small business. I mean, when I think of the small businesses I deal with, they do not have a problem with globalization. If you've got a major textile business or shoe business or furniture business, you're going to be very much affected by what's going on around the world in terms of production costs. So,
yeah, globalization is important to track because it's changing the rules of the game. As Warren said, it doesn't directly affect a small business, because usually the fact that you're there locally doing a very differentiated product means that somebody far away can't do exactly what you do. The biggest change agent in globalization is what's going on in China, where they are, in a sense, even more capitalistic than we are in terms of how they're letting businesses develop and keeping things very efficient. And so I think it's very important, no matter what career everybody here is going into, to look at China as a change agent, think about globalization, and then think about these indirect effects on the opportunities for the companies you work for. I think that will be very important.